in your life, or in this stage, I won't say life, in this stage of leadership for you, who is pouring into you the most?
Yeah. It's a great question. And, I think over the last few years, I've been, really taking note of that. I've really been trying to make sense of, I heard something a long time ago whenever I was on an acquisition team. I was going and acquiring books of business from other financial advisor firms and bringing them into one of the top four broker dealers. And when we were having a session, and at the very end of it, they said, "Hey, financial advisors, you guys have the opportunity to help people in their biggest 4 F's in their life: faith, family, finance, and fitness." And for some reason, that just resonated with me. You hear for 2 days, you're hearing about this and about that and about that and about this. But that one time that I heard that, it resonated with me. And it was something that I brought home. I started talking about it with my wife, and we blogged about it for about 2 years. And we just wrote, what does it mean to be somebody that has all those different F's in alignment in their life?
Awesome, everybody. Welcome back to the CVMK Show, because it is what it is. I am your host, Mr. CVMK33 himself. I'm super excited. I'm burning the candle at both ends. So I always say there's not enough caffeine in the world, but we do what we do. I'm super excited about this episode because obviously we have a returning guest. We have a friend of the show. And I really, value this person, but I also value their insight. Sometimes you can value the insight and not have necessarily a connection. But I think when you have both, you really have fire working, right? As I say, you're cooking with grease. But this is not possible without you guys. You guys make this thing work. Thank you so much. You guys have gotten us over the 15,000 subscriber marker on YouTube. Obviously, we're getting up there. We're climbing that ladder. I said we're going to be at 100K by the end of the year. Come hook or crook, as my mama would say. But we're going to get there. But you guys have been fantastic in following and supporting, obviously, our supplement company, CMk Global. I think we're at now 71,000. I'm not too sure. Just checking the numbers a little bit earlier, trying to see. But none of this is possible without you. So shout out to you guys. But you know what you got to do if you want to keep seeing people like we have on a day. You know what you got to do. Subscribe. YouTube, one word, 4 letters, CVMK. The gram, CVMK_global. Pretty much every social media platform, CVMK_global. TikTok, it varies because they wouldn't let me put the BAL, so I had to shorten it up. So CVMK Global, because there's a character capacity on it. But everywhere else is CVMK Global fan base, CVMK Global, where it goes down at the CVMK Show. But before we do that, obviously, you know what we got to do. We got to pay these bills. And when we return, we'll be back with my man, AB, a.k.a. Alexander Brockman, after a quick word from our sponsors. AB, how you doing, man?
Man, you were talking about burning the candle at both ends, and I'm sitting here feeling in the exact same place as you. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm well, man. I'm just, year older, a little less hair, but a little bit more fire, So, but I'm super excited, man. I thank you. You brought up something. You texted me last night. He was like, it's been 4 years since the last one. I was like, nah, it couldn't have been. When he texted, I was like, 4 years. And I started to think like it has been,
4 years.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I appreciate you being on here again. You know how I feel about you, man, and I respect you, man, and I really appreciate what you bring to the table. But I want to get into it, man. We've done some pivoting, and you have to in life. Life forces you, and you just have to respond to it, right? So we'll go into the AI, but then we'll shift to, I think, and this is important because, business is business. That in and of itself has its own realm, but it mostly, if you do right, it takes care of itself. You as a person, though, is not detached from business, right? And I think sometimes we like to detach it too. So we're going to talk about the wellness factor of it and how do you want your life to live. So let's start here. AI is here. Yeah, it's been here, but now it's like in your face. Can't do anything about it. You either evolve with it or you get left behind, right? Right. Let's start as a simple off-ball question. Is this a good or a bad thing?
Man, I think the way that I look at AI and all the different dovetails that AI represents, there are a number of different ways now that people are basically creating new markets, right? I think of this as something similar to, kind of the early 90s, whenever, computers were getting more evenly distributed. I think of this as like the next evolution of a .com type of evolution of different markets. I think of this as another kind of iteration of the social media ecosystem that started to explode at the late 2000s, early 2010s. The SaaS boom of like the 2012 to 2015, there's just been an explosion. All these AI models, and so AI is a very massive term, right? And so I think what a lot of people are saying, let me just ask you, Cody, when you think of AI, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I think of it as an application of, I won't say pure autonomy, but I will say an application of execution, whether that's, and you mentioned it, if it's social media, if it's video splicing, subtitles, things of that nature, if it's targeting demographics by combining the analytics that has always been there, who you sell to has always been there, but now making a model that's easy to execute and easy to pitch. Or if that's as simple as putting in 2 + 2 in your calculator, it's always been here. It's just, I think now it's this, I won't call it an organism for ethical reasons, but I will say this entity is virtually standing on his own 2 legs. And how can we dance with it? That's what.
Hey, yeah, that's a great question. It's a great question, and it's how do we leverage it? Right. And the way that I've been trying to make sense of it is similar to when the internet came out. Everybody thought that the world was going to crumble because people weren't going to be buying books, and nobody was going to be going to libraries. The internet became a library that people had to figure out how to query, just the same way that whenever they walked into a library, they had to figure out how to navigate each section of the library. They had to figure out where to go, how to look for a specific author in a specific category, in a specific genre, from a specific year. It was no different. The internet had to evolve in that type of way. The same whenever social media came out. There's 1,000 different ways that people are kind of doomsdaying this. Yeah. However, I do think it is something that it is just a natural progression of tools that have been there for quite some time. When you and I kind of had that realization that it had been 4 years since we got on the It Is What It Is podcast together. I remember taking the recordings and having to send it to some company overseas and pay for the captions to be put on there. And it was, $1 a minute. And so it was one of those things that it was like, there was a market where people were doing something, they were providing a service, and now different tools have been put in place, leveraging AI, that make that type of data entry not necessarily something that has as high of a value, right? And I think that's the role that AI is going to play. Is it's going to make things that have continuously been being kind of swabbed out of the market. It's going to just take that and allow it to be something that technology supplants those simple rudimentary data entry types of tasks and roles. And so the way that a lot of different industries are trying to take AI and leverage it, and some people think AI is just Chat GPT, right? Chat GPT is one of probably 1,500 different large language models that have come to national recognition because of the different tools and the different, like Google popped out with theirs right after OpenAI did. Twitter has, or X, I'm sorry, they've got their version of it. Everyone's got their version of a large language model, which is basically them just saying, we're going to take a slice of the internet and we're going to train certain things, certain questions, certain prompts, certain queries, certain questions, and we're gonna train a large section of the internet on those questions. And then as people populate the questions, then it gets better and better and better and better. And so, kind of the ethical question that you posed earlier, Cody, is, how are we governing it? What are we doing with it? And I think, it does start to bring up some really realistic questions for a lot of people, which is, if they've been doing something for the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years that has a real chance of being remediated, for lack of a better term, by artificial intelligence, then what is it that they're going to do with their life and their career? What pivots do they need to make? And is there a framework that they can start to deploy to answer those questions, which sometimes are just ethereal, right? These what am I supposed to do? And why am I here? And what am I going to, how am I going to put bread on the plate for my family? Those are big questions, and they're real questions. And I have a big sensitivity for people that are forced to kind of come to that because of different technological advancements. But it's always better whenever that somebody has been down that path before and it's been proven over time. And if there's a framework, then there's a path. And so that's usually something that I always tend to look for. I don't want to look for the new thing. I want to look for the thing that's been tried and forged with fire over time. So that's there's so much there. So I'm just curious, kind of like, what does that make you think? What is as you've seen AI come into the workplace, as you've seen AI make the process of putting this production together easier, faster, more efficient, what's been your experience? What's kind of the, what's your take on where we stand right now? And, if you were to kind of like, wave your magic wand and put it out there for the next 18 months, what do you think that has in store for us?
So it's a beautiful tool as far as speed to delivery. If we just take this mode, right, this modality right here, the ability to match keywords with trending topics to splice a 60-second video to gain the max amount of views, that's brilliant. Instead of me going through, making markers, writing down, hard notes and trying to figure out what people are interested in, that stuff helps. What it cannot do and what it will not do ever is that it cannot fully sell. And what I mean by that, human beings still need human beings. Even when you're in the AI space, and they've gotten really good, but you can tell when something is overly artificial. You can tell the splicing, the tonality of voice. The thing about human uniqueness is that the beauty lies within its imperfection. The more perfect it becomes, the more robotic it feels, right? The more flawed that it is, the more organic it feels. And I think this is why platforms like a TikTok are disruptors, because honestly, there are no rules in that platform. The content creation is not exemplary. And I'm not throwing shades at anybody, but if you look at really who's leading and trending in TikTok, unless you're like a traditional celebrity or whatever, they're usually individuals who just major in outlandishness, right? Like it's not what you think. It's not like they're sitting there and they're trying to match this and got to get this sequence together. I don't even think there's a science. They just do it, and because it's organic, people respond to it, whether right or wrong. So and I think this is why, as Mark Twain says, history doesn't, repeat itself, but it does rhyme. I think the more that things kind of evolve, you kind of get this now pushback to center. And this pushback to center is this organicness. Now, when it comes to lifestyle, and I know we got to cut to a break here. What does a life look like? That's a very nuanced question, because I think you would have to go back as far as what did the teller do when the ATM came, or what did the stagecoach driver do when the vehicle or the car rolled out, and now what is the taxi cab doing, beyond Uber, but now that we get more into the autonomous, fleets, they need to be supported, because no matter how brilliant someone is, there's going to be lag. And I can't tell you indefinitely how long that lag time is. And it's not fair to suffer because I didn't see, some genius, probably kid invented something that remarkably changed the world. And now, I'm almost 50 and I got to start over. We're going to get into it because I want to tackle that lifestyle thing after a quick word from our sponsors.
There's a hero in all of us waiting to be unleashed. All it takes is just that one last push. Activate the hero within with CVMK Global Supplements. All natural, steroid-free, designed to enhance performance, build muscle, and increase energy. You are unstoppable. You can do this. Become your own hero at www.cvmkglobal.store.
All right, y'all. I brought with me, I thought I had Super Thick with me, but it's in my bag. I brought with me Superpower. This is what I use, obviously, on the heavy lifting days. It's the most intense one that we have. That and Warrior Thirst. I always say when I go run against Warrior Thirst, if it's a heavy lift day, it's Superpower. Y'all, www.cvmkglobal.store. Use code CVMK for 20% off. I'm telling you, game changer. And shout out, we made what is it? Wall Street Times is an affiliate network of the Wall Street Journal for supplement brand on the rise. So look, I want y'all to share in this. I made a code for y'all 20% off. If you DM me, I'll give you 30% off because I want to know who you are. I like putting faces to names. I need to know, right? So www.cvmkglobal.store. So the lifestyle, and this is where it gets like tricky, is nobody is talking about the future. Whatever ideology you subscribe to, everybody's talking about the past in some way, shape, or form. Whether you're fighting for the soul of America or whatever, it's a utopia, or I would say dystopia, in a yesteryear sequence that most likely never existed. The future is, the reality is, you have 8+ billion people. And you have a more connected world, but also a more competitive world. Somebody has to be there to buffer, because now you won't have the luxury of just saying, oh man, I'm a bank teller. I'm still sure there are, there might be one per branch, but that's not like a career path, right? So what does that look like? I say the first thing, and I'll throw it to you, and I'll start here, and I'll throw it to you. And this is, more off the books on par, though. I think faith is absolutely important. And I think not having God in the picture is gonna distort what the picture looks like, right? Because I can't tell you what the future is. I don't have a magic 8-ball. I can't, that's not what I do. But I can tell you that the Lord's love can get you through it. His grace and his mercy. So I think it starts there. I'm gonna throw the scientific part, because this you're a little bit more well-versed in this, to you from a lifestyle perspective. As first of all, I want to talk to you as a CEO. You get this new technology. How do you support the employees you're about to let go? And then if you were, I hate to say president, if you were just over a political body, right?
Okay.
All right, what should we be doing?
As it pertains to kind of the role that technology is continuing to kind of mix it up.
Yeah.
I think that's been a fantastic question that we have been. I think if Cody, you and I are a very similar age. I think they've been trying to figure this out pretty much since you and I were in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Is the evolution of technology and different impacts that it has on different segments of the market, different subsets of the country, different populations across the globe, right? It's a different type of question if you're talking about like a certain borough in New York City versus the entire country of Africa or India, right? These are bigger questions the further that you kind of scan out. And so, again, big questions are sometimes best answered with very simple frameworks. And this is my experience. And so I'll answer it in two ways. Sure. And the way that I was kind of posing this on LinkedIn a few weeks ago was that the success framework is a four-part question. Is really, it stems to it kind of reverse engineers back into a book that we love, Start With Why by Simon Sinek, that has I've got a fourth little caveat in there instead of the why, how, and the what. I've got a fourth one in there, which I'll come to here in just a second. But I think that when people are trying to figure out how it is that they want their life to look, it's not the question is not best posed as what do you want to do. I think that's a question that we're all asked from the time that we're in ninth grade and starting to kind of chart our path. Once we get out of high school, do we go to trade school? Do we go to university? Are we going to play sports? Are we going to go overseas? Are we going to do some mission work? What is it that we're going to do? I think is not necessarily the best question to ask everybody every time. I think it's an important portion of the vehicle, but it's not necessarily the engine. And nor do I think it's the oil that keeps everything going. I think the framework is best posed like this. The first question is, how do you want to live? And a part, kind of a 1A and a 1B. So how do you want to live? And 1B is, what do you want your life to look like? And so when somebody says like, what do you want to do? I think versus if you contrast that to how do you want to live and what do you want your life to look like, those are two very different questions, right? How do you want to live is more about what is it inside your life that you feel you want to, that's more encompassing of like, what type of relationships do you want to have in your life? What type of relationship with your spouse? What type of family do you want to create? What ability do you want to have to be able to travel? What do you want as far as purpose, right? What do you want to do as far as being a respecter of time, right? And so when you ask the question of how do you want your life to look and what do you want your life to look like and how do you want to live, those are questions that really started to come back to the surface, I think, by like Jordan Peterson, whenever he started putting out the future authoring program, and he just started kind of amalgamating different questions that other people have been asking for, probably 100, 200, 300 years, that were the impetus for a lot of people starting businesses. And I think that's That's going to be the change. If we're going to bring it back to kind of like where we started with AI, I think there's going to be a lot more people that are starting enterprises and starting businesses just like you have, Cody, right? They were posed with an opportunity, and I'm not going to say a challenge. I'm not going to say a problem. They were posed with an opportunity to do something differently. And you have created CVMK Global as a result of that, because you asked yourself a question of, what do I want my life to look like? Not what do I want to do for a living, right? You asked yourself a higher level question, and that translated into you putting together and really putting your nose to the grindstone. And for the last few years have been building this ecosystem, building this enterprise. You know, you got 15,000 subscribers on YouTube. You've got 71,000 followers across platform. Like, that is absolutely amazing. And I'm so incredibly proud of you, because you asked yourself the question, what do I want my life to look like? The second question in that framework, Cody, is why, right? Because anybody can say, well, what do I want my life to look like? I want to be a billionaire, right? Why? What does being a billionaire get you that you don't presently have right now? And that then goes back to those questions of like time, family, relationships, right? What does being a billionaire allow me to do that I can't presently do right now? The third question in it is, what am I willing to do? What am I willing to sacrifice in order to accomplish that goal? And if we take that same framework, Cody, like if we're doing consulting for anybody, if we're talking with a company and they're saying, I want to be the number one, bank in the state of Montana, or I want to be the number one pharmaceutical company in the entire United States. You ask them the second question, which is why. The third question is, what are you willing to do to be able to accomplish that goal? Because it's going to come at a cost. It's not just going to be something that you wave your wand and all of a sudden you're there. You're the number one. You're going to have to sacrifice something. Michael Jordan had to sacrifice a lot of hours to be the best basketball player on the planet at the time. Wayne Gretzky had to sacrifice to be the best hockey player in the world. Lionel Messi had to sacrifice for years to become the best footballer, the best soccer player in the world. And so I think that sacrifice question is the one where a lot of people may get through 1 and 2, but once they come to 3, that's a tougher pill to swallow. Oh, I'm actually going to have to do something big. I'm going to have to make some changes and do some hard work and actually kind of wake up earlier and read more books and give myself some different inputs in here so that the outputs will change. Right. Mm-hmm. And then the fourth question I think is very pivotal, because then it kind of dovetails into the Simon Sinek thing. The fourth question is, do you have a plan? Do you have a guide? Do you have a mentor? Do you have somebody that has traveled that path before you and can show you where the hurdles are, where the turtles are, where the peaks and the troughs are? Somebody that has been down that path that can say, well, you're going to have to make a left here. You're going to have to keep going here. You're going to feel as if you're, blind, deaf, and dumb and in the dark over here, but keep going, because as soon as you start to ascend out of that valley, then you're going to come back up to where you're starting to ascend. And people kind of don't realize that you're going to go through this all the time. But the goal is to have that measure to continue going up and to the right. If you scan it out across time, and it's not microcosms, it's not week-long increments where you're saying I'm a failure, or I'm victorious, or I'm failing in small increments of time. It's how do I span it out and say, how do I win the decade? Well, I win the decade by doing things, compounding good decisions on a daily basis. Right. Yeah. And so what do I want my life to look like? How do I want to live? Why? What am I willing to do to get it? And do I have a plan? Do I have a mentor? Do I have a guide that can show me the way? Right. And so if I just reverse engineer those, then that goes into like the Simon Sinek, why, how, what, but I add who at the top of that, because it just reverse engineers those 4 questions, right? Who is it that I can have in my life that can help me get to where I want to go?
Right.
How am I going to, what am I going to do? What's the vehicle I'm going to take to be able to help me get to where I want to be? How am I going to traverse that path? And why am I doing any of it in the first place? So I say all that to basically just put you on, put it all on the tee for you. and just see, what that does, what that, how that resonates with you, and what your experience has been, because, we can talk in hypotheticals for a long time, but what does that resonate with you? Because I've seen you do that.
What is it? That would take a whole episode. I think the biggest thing is it's okay to it's great, and it's noteworthy, and it's an applause moment when somebody sees it, as you mentioned, as an opportunity and says, I'm gonna make a decision. And I think that's beautiful, man. I would never take away somebody's moment.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge is, once the decision is made, the dream will not build itself. And the reality of your vision is a process and a long, drawn out, arduous thing at times, because you can't, no matter what you do and how much you pour in, there's ways to speed up. There's things I know now that I wish I knew when I first started. But you can't go back in time. And even the things I know now, I still realize there's no on switch. It's really the grace of God, because when you start nudging it,
mm-hmm.
and you get what I call like momentum and nudging, right? And start pushing that thing and pushing it, it becomes a little bit clearer. And then you got to reinvest, and you got to go back, and it's like, okay, now I got to nudge it some more. You don't really start enjoying, I would say, the fruit of it until really everybody else is eating. TD Jake said something. He said, if I take a shower, the water hits the pipes first, right? Like, so you really don't. You watch yourself, even though it's your baby and it's the vision you have, you realize that everybody else is going to benefit from it first, and you have to be okay with benefiting from it last. You met Simon Sinek, and I like his book, Leaders Eat Last? Yeah. Leaders Eat Last. And it's true. Like, you eat last, and no matter how you try to eat first, because when you're really a leader, you see the whole thing, and you're so careful of somebody coming to wreck that thing. You will purposely starve just to create room for abuse for somebody else. And what ends up happening is that you're creating this cushion. Like, as long as I don't harm it, I just don't want to be the reason why, right? I don't want to be the reason why. So it's a really sacrificial kind of artwork in a way. But I think the saving grace is that along the way, you get reminders that you're not an idiot. And I think that's the coolest way to say it. Like, God has said something like, you're not an idiot. You're on the right path. I'm gonna let you have this one thing, and you're so excited. And it's like getting a sale. It's like, I did all these meetings, and I finally got one. Then you're back to zero. But you get something. But that something is a building block for the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. And then you start realizing, like, over time, you're like, I've built something here, but I have a lot more to go. And then you start entering into new arenas. I think something, and you can speak to more on this, because I have not, and this is an area of weakness. And I think sometimes as a leader, as a podcast host, as a whatever, you always have to be honest with where you come short. Like, I never pretend to figure it out. I've done a lot of stuff by trial and error, and probably more error than trial, right? So where I come short is the mentoring aspect, right? Like, I wouldn't say that I'm partnered with that one person or team that has done this. I have met with individuals. I have done things that has put me in the room, but for whatever reason, the alignment just wasn't there, right? So and that's my fault. And I own my thing, and I own, like, maybe I could have been a bit more bending or whatever, but I own it. It is definitely something I'm working on to deepen these relationships, because I would say if you're like a Kobe Bryant, I'm taking the last shot. I don't care if Shaq's down low or not, so
Right.
It's
right.
just in you, right? So,
Yeah.
but that's an area where I come short, and I think it is a good tie-in to for you. Who has in your life or in this stage? I won't say life in this stage of leadership for you. Who is pouring into you the most?
Yeah. It's a great question. And, I think over the last few years, I've been, really taking note of that. I've really been trying to make sense of, I heard something a long time ago whenever I was on an acquisition team. I was going and acquiring books of business from other financial advisor firms and bringing them into one of the top four broker dealers. And when we were having a session, and at the very end of it, they said, "Hey, financial advisors, you guys have the opportunity to help people in their biggest 4 F's in their life: faith, family, finance, and fitness." And for some reason, that just resonated with me. You hear for 2 days, you're hearing about this and about that and about that and about this. But that one time that I heard that, it resonated with me. And it was something that I brought home. I started talking about it with my wife, and we blogged about it for about 2 years. And we just wrote, what does it mean to be somebody that has all those different F's in alignment in their life, right? Yeah. Faith, family, finance, and fitness. And so I've always had somebody that speaks into each of those 4, but it was 4 individuals. I've always had, a Paul to me, Timothy. I've always had, kind of a mentor to me, a mentee. I've always had a disciple, or, so it's like a Paul to a Timothy, a sponsor to a sponsee, in recovery, a mentor to a mentee, and then, a trainer to a client. I've always had somebody in those 4 F's, but those people have revolved, it's kind of like an open door at each of those levels, until probably, a year and a half, 2 years ago, where got reconnected with a buddy of mine that I went to high school with, and he's got some incredible results in his life. And, I can go and I can get mentored by myself, and that's my responsibility. But as somebody who, I've been married for 8 years, going on 9, and we've got 3 beautiful little girls, it's my role to unify my family. And I've always been trying to find out, is there a husband and wife that can mentor us in multiple of those F's, right? In faith and family and finance and fitness. Is there a way that we can create alignment together with a husband and wife submitting to the mentorship of another husband and wife couple? And that's what we found in these mentors that we've been really just pursuing aggressively and running after, because what they do is they mentor us in life, and they're helping us make big life decisions. And, I've had success in a lot of areas of my life, and I've done well in certain areas, but it's beneficial to always have that lens, and to believe that there is better that I can do for my family, because whenever we're all in alignment here, when the Brockman barn is all set up in its proper place, then what that allows other people to do is to come in and experience peace. Whenever it's chaos over here and somebody comes over, then they feel that as well. But if we're in alignment and we're, out of the overflow of what we've been able to accomplish, if we could just be generous and give, then that's what I feel is one of our key goals in life, is to be able to do that just freely. And so that's what we're putting together with these mentors with Chad and Chelsea, is that Chelsea mentors Kat, my wife. Yeah. And they have been establishing a relationship, and they're building on things, and they're tackling some really big things that Kat's been trying to figure out for years. And, the same with Chad. I thought I had a number of different things figured out, and he just said, "Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, have you thought about this that way? Hey, have you tried this instead of that?" And it's just, I'm racking my brain. I've been doing more unlearning than learning, right?
Yeah.
There's been certain things that have led to success in certain areas, but it doesn't compound with time. And it's not something that I can replicate over and over and over again. Therefore, it was more off of kind of happenstance and kind of the luck of the draw, rather than I have found something that is replicable, that can be passed down with time, that can be duplicated through other people. And so that's what I feel like, that the role of a mentor is to challenge the things that I've brought to the table and said, hey, this is what has allowed us to do well in this area or this area.
Yeah.
But let me humble myself and say, I don't have all the answers. That's why I want the results that you have in life. And it's, it's great. They've got, I think a lot of people just say, well, I want to be the best this, or I want to be the best that. And those are all fine things. And they're usually kind of like monetary. I want to be like Gary V, or I want to be like this person. I want to be like this founder. And those are all fine things. But in every area of that person's life, would you like their relationship? Right? Would you like their relationship with their spouse, or are they on their third one? Right? Would you like the way that their kids look at them, and the way that they prioritize their kids over something else? Would you like their relationship with their higher power? And, Cody, you and I share the same. So would you like their relationship with Jesus, the way that, and a lot of times when you start stacking these things up in faith, family, finance, and fitness, they may have one, but they are not going to be the one that you go to for all four. And that's just by luck.
Yeah.
Kat and I found these guys, and that's been something that we've aggressively pursued this couple, and it's paid dividends, right? We're making impacts in our financial life. My faith walk is stronger, and it's been tested more, and I'm actually leaning into certain areas of my life that from a faith perspective that I didn't even know were possible. It's improved our marriage. I'm more intentional as a father, and we're setting our family up, right? We're stowing things away so that the barn is ready for good times and bad, right? Mm-hmm. I think we were really good for, hey, we're good for like 3 to 6 months. We're trying to be good for, our grandkids. And that's just something that I had never heard anybody talk like that before until I met Chad and Chels. And so that's, it has been humbling because there's been a lot of things that they've said, hey, I know that may have led to success in a certain area, but it won't over the long haul. So here's what our situation looked like. Here's our experience. Here's the strength that we have. And here's our hope that you can do it better and faster and more efficiently and more profitable than we did. And that, I mean, it's incredibly humbling, and it's incredibly encouraging because, that's why I put who at the center of that circle, right? Yeah. You can have all the answers of why, how, and what, but if you don't have a who to help you get from where you are to where you want to be, it's going to be a tough road, right? There's been a lot of that's this whole solopreneur thing that people are doing nowadays, where everybody just wants to go and do it alone. And the odds are less than likely that the solopreneurs will make it. They may have the opportunity to do well in a certain season, but over the long haul, it's best when you're in community. It's best whenever you're in an environment, kind of a mutually, cooperative kind of commerce ecosystem. Whenever that's where the phrase "it takes a village" comes from, right? Mm-hmm. Because the shoemaker used to help out the blacksmith, used to help out the farmer, used to help out the person that was kind of governing from a political standpoint. All these people used to take care of each other. And I think we've gone into this thing where AI and technology has allowed us to be more isolated. But whenever we are together, whenever we're working together and working in unison with each other and creating a team and a vision and casting vision together and doing things collectively together, that's where I think that kind of ties in the whole conversation that we've had, going from how do you leverage technology, allow it to do things that allow it to do things that before used to take a lot of grunt work. Allow technology to get you 80% of the way, and then you have to kind of fine tune it and calibrate it and spot check it and clean it up, because you can get 80% faster somewhere. And then you got to figure out, how do you want to live?
Right.
Why? What are you willing to do to get it? And do you have a mentor? Do you have a guide? Do you have a path to follow to be able to accomplish that goal? There you go.
Facts. I'll make you one more. I know we're coming to the close. I appreciate you. I want to talk about vetting your who. I think the vetting process is essential, because somebody might be like, yeah, I want a mentor, but like you said, I don't know if I agree with this. I don't want to end up in a dark alley or on TMZ. You know what I'm saying? So after we return from our quick word from our sponsors.
I literally just tried the best pre-workout on the planet. With Superpower pre-workout, you have increased focus and a power boost every single time you work out. It's not only packed with 225 milligrams of caffeine, but it also has citrulline and creatine. It's insane how much energy and focus I had during my workouts. If you're ready to take your workouts to the next level, then ditch your current pre-workout and get the Superpower pre-workout to be your own hero.
Y'all, what I have with me? I got Transform with me. I had to think about it. I said, what do I have around me? You're a vegan, you're plant-based. I got the plant-based protein for you, Transform. Look, 24 grams of protein, 130 calories, all the digestive enzymes you need to get that body that you deserve. www.cvmkglobal.store. I had to think, I was like, where's my, got all my stuff scattered everywhere. The Who, the vetting of the Who. The Who is the Who, yeah. It is, we are unfortunately or fortunately living in a weird time. That's all I'm gonna say. Just different. Different. And who determines a lot. Nobody will be perfect. So it can't be a question of being perfect. But it is a question of alignment and what you're willing to co-sign off of. Right. So in vetting, right, obviously, I think at first glance, we look at somebody's status and say, is this an atmosphere that I see myself or I would like to ascend to, or can they help me, survive in the clouds? But I think what it really comes down to, and you mentioned it, is, do you really want their life, right? There's a lot of financially successful individuals, but I don't know if I want their life. Like, I really don't know if I want that life, right? So you mentioned your Who, you mentioned Chad and Kelsey, and this is where it gets funny, because I always think you should have a funny story. Tell me about a bad Who, AB. Tell me about a person that you be like, you know what? I thought this was a Who, and then it wasn't the Who I needed.
Yeah. So let me go there. I've got plenty, and so I've in different areas of my life, in different times, there've been people that I were running after because I thought I liked certain things, because I thought I had an idea of what I thought success looked like. And it was challenged because whenever I started running after certain people and taking advice from people, and I started to get closer to them, I realized that all of it was just, kind of, it was all fake, right? Yeah. There was an emptiness there, and I think that's why whenever my wife and I talk about what we want people to experience whenever they come over to our house, which is peace, it's because we've gone over to other people's houses and it feels anything but, right? You kind of you're given this perception that, hey, it's gonna be great over here, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, come on over, chat it up, and then you get in and it just feels like you can cut the tension with a knife. So I've had plenty of those, right? And what I've had to learn is that in certain seasons, I take what I want and I leave the rest.
Okay.
Right. Fair. And that is very vital for certain things, right? I may I may truly value what somebody can bring to me. If I'm trying to improve on the golf course, I'm not going to vet that person's every element of their life to see if they're going to be somebody that can help me get better, 150 yards and in. Right. However, if I am doing something that is more at a higher level, I do need to vet them more, right? If I'm going to be spending more time with them, because that's transactional, right? I want to go and get better at golf. I'm going to pay you whatever it is an hour to help me get there. That is a transaction. And so I think that's the litmus test. Is it something that's transactional? Are you helping me learn how to ballroom dance? Are you helping me to figure out how to golf? Are you helping me to figure out a certain whatever code, or how to do something transactionally? Then I don't need to do a whole lot of vetting. I may check your reviews on Google, but if it is something where I'm looking more from a relational standpoint, can I see myself doing life with this person for years? Then yeah, that's going to take more of a vetting process. And ultimately, I had to get put through that, because I used to evaluate and try and figure out, okay, well, do I like this person's, do I like the way that they prioritize? Are they in alignment? Do they have their life in alignment of their relationship with God, their relationship with their spouse, their relationship with their children, and what they do professionally? Is that all in alignment? Right. But I had to get sat in the chair and ask those difficult questions myself, and that helped me reframe the way that I viewed the process as well, right? Because whenever I was in the hot seat, I realized that I wasn't all put together the way that I thought I was. That there were gaps in my life that I needed to have somebody that had traversed those paths and had come out the other side, and that we're going to lead with a limp. And I think that's one of the most important things, because Cody, you said it, there's a lot of people that are out there kind of Instagram filter fake.
Yeah.
Everybody presents the best version of themselves on the outside, and they'll charge you $10,000 to get into their course so that they can show you how they accomplished what they did. And I think there's a guy that by the name of John Maxwell, who writes, he's probably got 40 different books on mentorship and leadership. And one of the best quotes from one of those books is, mentorship is earned. It's never bought. And that relationship deepens and becomes more significant with time. Right?
Yeah. It's
earned and never purchased. So if you want to have somebody tell you what to do, that's a psychiatrist or a counselor. You pay that person $250 an hour. But if you want to earn a mentorship, that is something that I never paid Chad and Chelsea anything, right? I earned that relationship through activity. I earned that relationship by taking their suggestions, completing the action, coming back to them with, hey, this is what you told me. This is what I did. This was the result. This is what it made me think. How is it that I can do better? Right? And that's something that it's been reframing the way that I've had to look at that. And so, when I say all that, Cody, is that kind of what you were thinking as far as when you're looking at the who? I think you have to look at, is it transactional or is it relational? The more relational, the more vetting that you're going to have to do, and the more that you're going to have to look at, does this person have faith, family, finance, fitness the way that I would like? And if it's more transactional, man, you don't have to do much. Just make sure that, you're investing in somebody that is not going to steal your money and run away. That's about it. Right. And so that's the way that I look at it.
No, I like it. I think you hit it on the head. It's unfortunately, there are human beings who have capitalized off of vulnerability, for better or for worse. And, sometimes it goes both ways. If it's transactional, A got what they wanted, B got what they wanted, and whatever the lack of character that happened, that kind of happened. But
it's true.
True mentorship, as you mentioned, is earned. It's not something that is invoiced. There's no PayPal. account exchange. Even though I see 1,000 commercials, I'm so tired of YouTube commercials. If I see another one like, man, you want to be rich? All you got to do is give me $10,000. I mean, like, if it was that easy, easy, everybody would be doing it. Yeah, this has been an amazing show. AB, I want to thank you, man, for coming back on the show. Where can the people connect with you, man?
Man, I still the same spot. I'm spending a lot of time on LinkedIn. I'm trying to come up with different series that I'll talk through a complex thing, and I'll kind of break it down, 3, 4, 5 days at a time. So LinkedIn, Abe Rockman. We're doing a lot of fun stuff at Experience Fresh. We're building a lot of really incredible brands, and we're doing some fun stuff over there at Experience Fresh. And then I think the main thing is through the course of the conversation, if it sparked something in you and it created a question, reach out to Cody. If it's for him, reach out to him. And Cody is an unbelievable person to be able to show you how he's gone from where he was to where he is going. Right. It's not just where you are right now, Cody, which is a great place, but it's where you're going and where you're headed. And I think it's the same. If it was a question for me, just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd love to have a conversation with anybody. If that resonates with you, if there's something that, I kind of sparked a fire, if Cody sparked a fire, reach out to us. That's what this thing is all about, is we're taking what we've learned and we're keeping it with an open hand. And if I can benefit you, then, hey, I'm going to give it away for free, because I know that if it helps you become a better version of yourself, then more people win. And that small action can bifurcate. That can start to, that's the butterfly effect. And if we can start doing that, I think that's that altruism, where if we're starting to work together and we're working in alignment with each other, that's how we can change the world.
I said, y'all connect with AB, hit him up, comment. And when you comment and connect with AB, tag Kevin Blair and tell him we need tickets to Colorado. I'm tired of seeing this man post photos of the mountains and don't invite anybody.
I know.
Yo, this has been another amazing episode of the CVMK Show, because it is what it is. You know what you got to do if you want to keep seeing stuff like this. YouTube, 1 word, 4 letters, CVMK. Obviously, where it goes down on all the platforms, you name it, is there. Just put in CVMK Global. It'll pop up. I'm sure it'll pop up. But I want you to connect with us on Meta. I want y'all to go to CMk_Global. I tell everybody it's free, even if you don't buy. I just want to see you like, comment, tell me, did you like this post? Did you not like this post? Do I need to add more grams of creatine in one thing? Let me know. You drive this, right? So that's www.cvmkglobal, where it goes down. And until next time, guys.
If you think exercise alone got me looking like this, well, think again. CVMK Global Super Thick got me right. I'm obsessed, and yeah, I won't stop talking about it because it helped me grow in all the right places. Its creatine provides a fast and reliable way to increase your power, size, and shape, and it's scientifically proven to help you reach your physical goals in a safe, controlled manner. So if you want to increase muscle size, pump, and thickness in your muscle groups, you need Super Thick.